everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. This is your host, Gianni DePoce. It's great to be back with you all as we begin the new month of September, and we are in the new season of Virgo, the last third of the summer season. So before we know it, it will be Libra season and the autumnal equinox, and markets are giving us no shortage of interesting movements along with these powerful geocosmic signatures. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen here. We can take a look at what happened across several financial markets this past week. So pretty weak week overall. And we see how that a high formed on the 26th of August. That was one day before we had those powerful Venus signatures between Uranus and Saturn. So Venus squared Uranus and then opposed Saturn, and that led to a reversal because that was the high that preceded those aspects. And many are attributing the sell-off as being in the shadow period of Mercury Retrograde, which begins on the 9th of September, so a week from today. However, we usually see the false moves unfold once the retrograde period begins, and then toward the end, and even at the midpoint. So it's basically the beginning, the middle, and the after tend to be the most potent periods. So we're not quite in that time band where we see the biggest moves in the markets related to Mercury retrograde. But in the middle of this week, we did find a little bit of a low on the 1st of September, but there weren't any heavy geocosmic signatures this past week. Really, we were coming out of those heavy Venus signatures, but we did see the NASDAQ lead the way lower this past week, and we blame that on the square between Venus and Uranus, because Uranus rules the NASDAQ as it's a very tech-heavy index. So, keep in mind this reversal happened not long after Uranus also went retrograde in the sign of Taurus. So Taurus, not only does it rule currencies and grains and agricultural markets, but it also rules stock markets. So we saw pretty potent reversals between the NASDAQ and the Dow and other key markets as well. So I want to take a look at the 10-year Treasury note this week. We had some jobs data come out on Friday that met expectations. So right now the Fed is still expected to raise interest rates 75 basis points later this month in September. And as we look at the US dollar, still making new multi-year highs, pulling back a little bit here on Friday, as we, next week we're looking for Venus to go into the sign of Virgo on the 5th. So whenever Venus changes signs, we look for potential moves or reversals in markets related to Venus, which again, stocks, currencies, agricultural markets like grains and livestock and what have you. So also pretty important for cryptocurrencies, but we have to be keen for a reversal in the dollar, which does seem to be a little overbought in the short term. So between the two main signatures next week are going to be Venus ingressing into Virgo and obviously Mercury going retrograde. So we'll have to be on the lookout for volatility, which has been a theme as we've talked about ever since Mars ingressed into the sign of Gemini. Gemini is a very active sign, and Mars is aggressive. Gemini also rules commercial activity and trading more so than investing. So we're seeing, wider price fluctuations ever since that transit began. So I want to take a look at crude oil as well. Crude oil trading going out near the lows of the week. That's some not very bullish right now, but we'll see if we can get a change in the fortune of this market as Jupiter continues back towards Pisces as it's in its retrograde motion. Also want to take a look at gold miners, which are having a strong update here on Friday. Still in a downtrend, making lower lows and lower highs, but gold has not really liked interest rates being so high. So definitely keep an eye on this. And we do analyze this ETF, by the way, in the MMA ETF report. I also want to take a look at the healthcare sector, because I think this is another market to keep a close eye on as Jupiter continues its retrograde motion back towards Pisces, set to go back into Pisces in October. So we're not far from there now, but we'll note that the healthcare sector made an all-time high back in April compared to the overall market, which did so in January. So we have already seen some outperformance this year. But then when Jupiter went into Aries back in May, we saw that it hasn't been so good for healthcare. So this is something we're keeping an eye on and keeping readers of the MMA ETF report updated, as this healthcare ETF is another one that is covered in that report. So traders of cryptocurrency should also check out the MMA ETF report, because gold, or excuse me, not gold, digital gold, some might call it, but it hasn't really been showing its luster. Bitcoin trading consolidating near the lows. Did not like that square aspect between Venus and Uranus last week. And ever since Uranus went retrograde in Taurus, has not been performing so well. So this is definitely a market to keep an eye on, cryptocurrencies overall, as Venus is set to ingress into the sign of Virgo. So that pretty much takes care of the charts that I wanted to look at you with this week. In terms of announcements, we just want to remind viewers that we have our MMTA investment retreat. That's going to be next weekend between the 9th and the 11th of September in Troy, Michigan. So details can be found at www.mmacycles.com. That also, we will also be publishing our monthly MMA cycles report on between Monday and Wednesday afterwards. That would be the 12th and the 14th. Stay tuned to that, and you can see all the details again at www.mmacycles.com. So thanks for watching. Wishing you all a great long weekend. Markets are closed on Monday in observance of Labor Day in the United States. So we have a shortened trading week next week, which could turn interesting given that Mercury is going retrograde as well. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.